Welcome back to Thanks for Sharing, everyone. We're your hosts, David O.
Eric V.
And Allie B.
Did Eric forget his Eric V?
No, I heard my wife.
Question?
I heard my wife open the door downstairs, and I was hoping I was hoping Luna wasn't gonna bark, so I was just making sure it was MC and not someone else. Just listening,
Okay,
David. Guys, we
I just wanted to make sure you weren't glitching.
Oh no, everything's okay over here. How are you, David? Is everything okay?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Good. Yep.
We were having some good conversation though before we started here.
We were.
It was almost a shame we didn't press the record button.
You could have secretly done it, and I think you probably should have, and you could have gotten a lot of really candid content. That would have been gold.
Yeah, there were some hot takes though. We don't like hot takes necessarily. Some of them were sizzling.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, since you're the one with the agenda or topic, why don't you lead us off, Eric?
Okay. Yeah. We'll start with my topic, and if the wind takes us there, we'll go to another or some shit. I don't know. But
it's organic,
Yeah. The topic I have is, and I have a firm opinion on this, that how do you apply, because I do think recovery, at least in the beginning, is one day at a time. But as life begins to progress, one day at a time becomes difficult to apply to life, because life takes planning and doesn't happen one day at a time. So that's my topic. My topic is, and I can go first unless someone else wants to start, but the topic is essentially, how do you believe that it works that way? That one day at a time can be applied to every aspect of your life?
Well, let's start with you. Let's see where you're at with it. Yeah.
All right. So I get it. I get just for today. I get one day at a time. I get the slogans. I get them from the perspective of especially when you're new, 100%. And that's kind of. And I talk about this a lot, and I think a lot of people probably don't like when I talk about it. But, a lot of the slogans work when you're new, and they aren't necessarily going to hold up if your life progresses to a certain point. One day at a time does not work a few years in. Sure, I'm not going to drink one day at a time. Just for today, I won't shoot dope. But, when it comes to when it comes to a job, when it comes to a house, when it comes to getting married, I hope you're not getting married one day at a time. That's not good, right? I mean...
That's how I did it.
No, you didn't. You did not. I was there. You did not just go you know what? One day at a time.
Just for today.
YOLO.
Dude, I am thoroughly confident my marriage is going to fail in 6 days.
You were YOLO, fuck it, let's get married. No, that shit was planned.
Yes,
and I mean, I think it gives off a false expectation of what the phrase means. Because a lot of people, and I remember you and I, David, used to have conversations about this, and I know that you've been writing plans and making lists, so I'm happy. I'm infiltrating your brain a little bit. But I think just looking at life and being just for today, I'm going to do this is all I'm going to do for today. If for this podcast, this wasn't, we didn't just get on. This was planned.
No.
Everything about this podcast is planned. Everything about my job is planned. I'm building a house. right? Like that takes planning. I couldn't just, I'm not like,
Yeah.
I'm not just standing in a field and I'm like, I'm going to start building a house. Let me start digging up the foundation. Like, no, that takes planning. It's not a one day at a time sort of thing. So I think especially when there's a problem, I don't get, one of my favorite is like when it's like just sit on your hands. I do think that works. I think that's, or like if you want to wait till tomorrow. I think that's probably one of my favorite. I think that's an AA saying. If you want to drink, just wait till tomorrow.
Yeah, just drink tomorrow.
Yeah, drink tomorrow. And then,
Always say that.
It'll go away. But I don't know. I'm so schedule oriented as a person, and I'm not that spontaneous. I'll have my moments, but it isn't. I don't know. I think one of the things that bothers me is when you're not making plans, you're reserving. You're essentially residing to the fact that you're okay just being who you are forever. Like that's kind of what it is. Like if you're doing one day at a time, like will anything really change? Because you can't like plan for that change. You can't like formulate a plan and act upon it. You're just, this is who I am. I'm good with it. One day at a time. But I don't know. I think, you just, in my opinion, in order to grow and progress, you do need to plan a little bit.
Yes. My take isn't really like counter to yours, but there's definitely like some branches off of your main point, I think. First of all, you're a very logical person. You are not a very emotional person. And I think I can speak for Allie on a little bit. When it comes to more emotionally based people, that shit can change in 24 hours. So there are times when you really have to deal with what psycho-emotional state you're in that 24 hours. And in that case, like sometimes it is very much a moment, an hour, a day at a time.
But that's a feeling. Like that isn't like, you know what I mean? Like I agree with you on that.
That's
like
still life, though.
Yeah, but
that's still life.
That's still going back to like what we were talking about before on the podcast, like before the podcast, where we're talking about like step one, like the feelings and the core of whatever our issues are. Those are just part of us, and like they're mental illness. So yeah, of course that has to be kind of like handled on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely, but and like that's where like my branches are. I think it needs to come in steps. Like I think it starts with the one day at a time, and then like I mean in everything, like just like you were saying, like a wedding, building a house. There's only certain things you can do at certain times, so you sort of have to. I guess sort of outline your life, either actually like physically on paper or at least in your mind, and conceptualize where you're going. But sometimes there's just only certain shit you can do at a certain time. Like, you can't just start driving before you have a license. I mean, you can, but it's illegal.
I don't know.
Like, you know what I mean?
That kid, what did he want? Did he want a PS4? Like that kid in California who was driving to California to buy.
That's an anomaly.
Don't squash his dream. God damn,
I'm
dude.
just saying, you can't put if we're going with the building a house, you can't put up a roof before you put up the walls. Like there's steps in the process. Like you can't just fast forward to a certain thing. And I'll admit it. Like I absolutely love your 5-year plan model, but I also like the 30-day model and the 60 and the 90 and the 1 year model.
That's fine, yeah.
I think, yeah, for a lot of people, and especially me, like, I have to, like, emotionally and psychologically, I can overwhelm myself when I think about 5-10 year plans, and it can freak me the fuck out. And therefore, it can, like, take me out of the game.
Why?
So,
Why?
Like, a lot of the times,
why?
Why?
Mm-hmm.
But because it's a lot. It can become overwhelming.
But,
and because ultimately.
But why though? I'm asking, like, why?
Why? Because my brain goes down the rabbit hole, and then I start thinking about, like, oh my God, I'm gonna die, and then I freak out and
Wait,
I'm done.
That's where your mind goes.
5 years.
Yeah, like my mind goes down the rabbit hole. That's part of my fucking problem. Dude, it happened today while I was waiting in line, the drive-through line at the bank. Like, I was just, like, sitting there waiting for the bank, and I was like, it just came out of nowhere. I was like, oh my God, I'm 32. If I live like another 68 years, I'll be 100, and, like, sometime between here and there, I'm gonna fucking die, and all this shit's gonna be gone. And I was like, what the fuck? Where does this come from?
Yeah, but I mean,
I really had to, like.
That's part of the game, man. Like, that's just what this is. In order for life to mean anything, on the regular,
I'm usually, but, like, I had to reel myself back into this moment and live in this moment, because, like, literally my breath started getting short and I started freaking out. I was like, oh my God, what if I die?
At your 100-year mark? That's what
I just said, like, dude, it was weird. But, like, I don't know if I'm going to be here in 5 years. I don't know if I'm going to be here in 10 years. Especially with the coronavirus. Who the fuck knows?
But you should.
Would that prevent you from making plans or, like, trying to make plans for those years? Okay.
No.
All right.
But it also, like, focusing on the day and having that perspective of, because in reality, there's no guarantee for your 5 year plan. There's a guarantee for right now, and, like,
there's no guarantee for right now plans. Like, I could say, like, I'm about to go for a walk, and something happens and I can't.
I agree. I just mean right this moment as we're talking, our hearts are beating, we're breathing, we're living, we're sharing our time and with each other, and, like, that's very much the microcosm of reality.
But this is a death thing for you. Is that what this is coming down to?
Yeah.
Is, like, this is this puts you in perspective with your own mortality, and it freaks you out?
I mean, not every time, but yeah, if I extrapolate and, like, really think about, like, too much about the future, yeah, it freaks me out that, like, I'm like, this is not permanent. I'm gonna die.
Yeah,
and, like, that's scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, but it's what happens, though. Yeah.
I know.
This turns really morbid.
I'm sorry. Allie, start talking. Allie.
No, I'm saving my own death, and I'm like, shit, I'm saving for retirement. Is that even going to happen? Like, I'm kidding. Am I really going to travel when I retire, or is that just a pipe dream?
This is what the David rabbit hole does.
Well, this honestly is not as bad as before. This is pretty mellow compared to what it was a few months ago.
No, yes. That was bad.
Oh gosh, what perfection.
Well, what are your thoughts about the one day at a time, Allie?
My thoughts. So I know when I was a newcomer, I needed to learn how to live one day at a time, because I approached every situation and every moment like it was my last. Like, I was like, oh, fuck it, I'm gonna die tomorrow anyway. So, like, yeah, let's fucking spend all this money and get high and sleep with people I don't know, whatever. Like, I couldn't, like, go past that. And then when I stopped using drugs, all I could think about was, like, the future. Like, 10 years from now, am I going to still, have all these fucked up feelings? And am I still going to be really insecure? Am I going to be a weirdo because like I missed out on all of this living and this life experience. So like newcomer me like that, just for today. But then like I started realizing it's like an easy thing to hide behind, right? Like, I'm not going to address this issue that's going on with me because like just for today, I can't handle it. And it's really easy to like say that for 365 days, it's easy to kind of hide behind that mentality. And, I didn't want to do that. Like after I was like, all right, like I don't want to hide anymore. And I had to learn how to like create a plan, but not allow it to consume me and be like flexible with it. Right. Like I try to tell my softies, like, it's okay to like have a plan and a goal and like a timeline, but just like know in the back of your mind that like some factor that you can't even fathom right now might come into play and it might change it all up. Like it might fuck it all up or it might change it or whatever. So like, having a plan, but being fluid with it and a little bit flexible and open-minded with it was like something I had to learn. But like when I go through difficult things or like I'm doing something that like I don't really want to do or, whatever, like I do go back to that, like, okay, just for today, I have to do this, just for today. Like when I'm trying to, like when I was trying to quit smoking cigarettes, it was like, okay, just for today, I don't have to smoke a cigarette, like I'm trying to cut back eating a lot of carbs because apparently it's not good to eat carbs for breakfast, lunch, and dinner and only carbs. So I'm like, okay, just for today. I'm like, because when I start to think beyond that, that's when like emotions come into play, and that's when shit gets chaotic, and I'm like, like I can't do this, and whatever. So yeah, like when it comes to personal success or goals or whatever, dreams that I have, I do think that I can't live them just for today. I do have to have some kind of timeline. But I don't know. I guess it's important to learn in early recovery and like remember and have it like in my like whatever tool bag and pull it out when it's needed. But like I don't think that I could live every day with that as my slogan, because it would be easy for me just to like hide behind it and like use that as like a bullshit cop out excuse. Like, oh, just for today, I'm not going to deal with this because like I don't want to. Or like just for today, I'm gonna. It's okay if I like cheat on my diet just for today, or it's okay if I like buy whatever the fuck I want just for today. So I, learning like that balance, I guess, and dynamics of like when it's appropriate and when it's not. Because like there's no way I would have made it through school if it was like, oh, just for today I'm gonna go to class, because like tomorrow would have came and I probably would have been like, fuck, I gotta do this again. Resentments would have formed and it wouldn't have went well. But when I had to go through things in class, like stuff that I wasn't sure about or stuff that like I didn't really want to do, that kind of mindset of that, just for today helps me be able to get through it and like evolve. So it's like a weird balance. I guess it's finding the balance of, the two.
Yeah. And I like how you said that. Like it's a process of learning when it's applicable and and appropriate. Like with some things it is appropriate. Like when you're starting off, like I think it's a great starting off tool, which goes 100% right back to Eric's point. And so it's something we need to employ as our recovery goes on, because, okay, you're, Eric, like just for today, you're not going to eat gummy bears.
I haven't.
And you move forward.
The gummy bears are over until we start traveling again.
Yeah.
Which might be a while.
But it's not even necessarily like somebody could overwhelm themselves and be like, oh my God, for the next, probably me, would be like, oh my God, for the rest of my life, I'm never going to have gummy bears. Like, when in reality, probably sometime in your life, you're going to get another bag of gummy bears.
It's the same with but it's the same with drugs and alcohol too, like or any behavior.
Exactly, yeah.
like one of the things I've always hated is when people are. I hate the never, like the what is it called again? The Never Club. What is it? I forget. I haven't been
No matter what.
The No Matter What Club.
What.
I fucking hate that shit.
What.
To be personal, like personally,
What?
I hate it.
I am a fucking member. I'm a fucking
I'm
card
sorry.
carrying motherfucking member.
You know,
no matter what. No,
I was
look,
too, and it didn't work out, man. Like, you know what I mean?
Okay, all right, fair enough. Because I have not. Maybe I haven't hit my wall or whatever. Like, it's easy for me to say, oh, no matter what, I'm not going to use because, like, some of my reservations might not have popped up. So it's probably easy for me to say that. But I do think that, like, somewhere along the lines in early recovery, and I have to probably even say, like, this might sound crazy and people might be like, how the fuck could she even say that? But I'm just going to say it. I think that, like, when I was taking methadone and trying to get clean, like, I became a member of that because I was like, you know what? Like, I don't give a fuck. I had to make the agreement with myself. No matter what the fuck happens, I'm not going back to the life that I was living, and I'm not going to continue to take this methadone. You know, like, it was like some contract I had to write with myself in order to be able to achieve that goal. And I did it because, you know, one day at a time, I felt like ass.
Yeah, but, and I feel you.
I don't know,
like, but things can change, right? And
exactly.
that's where I'm always like, I don't know. I feel like when, like, the first time I came around, you know, I did all the steps. I like lived the fucking program, and like it was very quick when I moved that like it changed, and you know I used because like my thinking changed, and like. I know what went wrong, like looking back on it, but you know, like you do all the steps, you have the commitments, you have all that stuff, and it still didn't work out. And like you have like the no matter what, you like it's like no matter what, I'm not going to do drugs again. But like then I ended up doing drugs again, and sometimes it just comes at you out of nowhere, like it doesn't even fucking make sense. And that's kind of where it kind of like killed me is like. You know, I've relapsed twice with time, like with recovery and some time, not a lot of time, but some time. But it's still like shit. Like I've worked all 12 steps each time, and it's just random shit that popped up that weren't even reservations or necessarily triggers. And like, that's what got me, you know what I mean? And it's just like, man, I didn't even that wasn't even like in my first step. Like how the fuck was I, like, did I overlook it, or did, you know, maybe I did look at it and it just, I don't know, fuck.
Yeah, but that's where I think it comes back to the one day at a time, and that's really when it is appropriate, because like recovery is a daily reaffirmation of your decision, of your surrender, like whatever you want to call it, like your dedication towards your recovery. It's a daily reaffirmation of that. So like when those things happen, you have like it's training. Like that's why like I like recovery instead of recovered, because recovered is period. It's done. It's not a verb. It's final. It's not a verb anymore. Recovery is very much a verb. It's an action word, and that's why I love that the one day at a time, because for me it is that daily affirmation of brain training and behavioral training. So I can keep, just like we say, practicing spiritual principles. I can keep practicing my recovery, because I'm never going to perfect it, but I can always I can always tweak it and augment it. And like going back to your like being flexible, like this is why like, and back to Allie, like talking about like hitting that wall or like whatever happens to that, like no matter what mentality. Herb, like the dark twisted motherfucker that he is, like in my first year of recovery, he put like it was me and him, we went down and he was sharing a meeting, and then we're having the meeting after the meeting in the parking lot, just talking about dark shit, 'cause that's who we are. And he was like, okay, let's say you have 10 years clean, and then somebody kidnaps your wife, chops her body up, and dumps it in a fucking dumpster. What the fuck are you going to do? And I was just like, where the fuck did that come from?
Well,
I was like, how is that even how is that even a thing? How is that even applicable? Hold on 1 second.
I have a question.
And then like, I didn't understand it at the time. And he was like, dude, crazy shit happens in life. And I was like, all right, whatever. And I kept that in the back of my head. Not 4 months later, my previous sponsor, Tyler, was shot and killed. He was shot in the face with a sawed-off shotgun while he was at work in the Columbia Mall. So, super suburban USA. Completely random. No circumstances, no motives. He was murdered. Like, what the fuck was I going to do? What did I do? I turned to recovery. I turned to my network and I dove in and I cried for like a month straight because I still, like, even to this day, do not understand it, how somebody just came in and just murdered him. And that was that was the random lesson that Herb implanted in my brain 4 months ago about an astronomical situation in life. And at that point, it really, like, it became a no matter what. Like, your friend just got murdered. And then 90 days after that, one of my best friends from middle school who was still using, somebody crept up into his house and shot him in his sleep. Like, I had to deal with 2 murders in 90 days in my second year clean. I had less than 18 months clean, and 2 of my, like, very good friends are murdered. So, like, really, that's, like, the level of, like, no matter what. Like, you just lost 2 people in your life to violence. And it's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to succumb to those feelings and circumstances of life? Or are you going to double down, ante up, and kick into your fucking recovery?
Well, I have a question. I do have a question, though. When Herb asked, about your wife being chopped up and murdered and thrown into a dumpster, do you find your wife, or is this just like an unknown thing that, like, you're not sure what happened to her? Like, is there a missing person? Is, like,
no, he was like, that was the end of your wife. Like, you get married, you're with her for 7 years, 10 years down the line.
Well, I get that, but
kidnapped and chopped up. Like,
but do you find out about it, or is she just gone? Like, I mean, we find out about her, but like, do you know about it?
What do you mean? Are we like Dextering this right now?
I'm just asking.
Are you implying he does it? Are you implying he's the one?
Yeah. Are you saying I'm a suspect, Eric?
I'm just saying. I'm just.
David, where were you?
Yeah, where were you, David?
I was at work. I swear.
Do you have an alibi, or were you closing by yourself? Like, I mean, what's the story here? Was there CCTV footage? I'm just curious.
But we need background. We need context.
Dude, we had a speaker on not too long ago who their son was killed by a drunk driver.
I know.
That's the shit, like, I extrapolate in the future. Like, okay, let's say I have kids, I raise this kid, and then, like, they die. Like, that's something, like, on my, like, that still in my mind is, like, kind of a reservation. Like, if I have to watch a child of mine die, I don't know how I'm going to handle that.
But that shouldn't be a reason why you don't have a child.
No. Exactly.
Like,
it's not anti the 5-year plan.
Well,
no,
I know, but what
like,
I'm saying is, like, all right, so, like, my animals, like, and animals are different than people for most people. For me, they're not. I like my animals more than I like probably almost all people.
Yeah, animals are greater than people.
Yeah, I like my pets more than I like, I'd say, 99.9% of people. But they're getting older. Like, my cats are getting older, and I just want, I understand that they won't be around much longer. Like, they could be around another 10 years. But it's like, I want to appreciate the time that I've had with them rather than be sad that, like, I'm not going to be here. They're not going to be here for much longer. So I don't know. That's just the way I've been looking at things lately. I haven't been looking at it as like, oh man, like, every day is one day closer to them dying. I'm like, oh, like every day is one more day I get to spend with my, my pets. And like, I'm going to appreciate this day.
Yes, exactly. And that's training that I've done on my brain is really looking at the positive of it. And it's like, oh, I have this day. I'm going to text my loved ones and just let them know I'm thinking about them and that like they're in my life, they're in my thoughts, they're in my emotions.
So guys,
and it's making the most out of every day.
Guys, I have a question. I have another like little topic for you that Allie brought up. When you were talking, Allie, the thing where you can use one day at a time as an excuse not to do shit. How do you guys feel?
That was a great point.
Great point. I do want to but it brings me to another thing that really like frustrates me. Because I know some people who used to do this. I know where this is going. Where you use like the disease or the illness and you personify it as like a person, like a separate person inside of you. I know people who used to be like, my addiction just, I can't do it today because of my addiction. I'm like, what? What does that mean? Like, like you can't apply for jobs. It has a gun to your head. You can't apply for jobs because of your disease. Like, extrapolate. What is that? What do you mean by that? So, I mean, how do you guys feel about that? Because I know you hear people say it. People say it in the rooms all the time. My disease has me like this. And I just think it's kind of dangerous to personify like the illness. Because it's like, then you like kind of like what you're saying where you're talking about like, oh, I'm like, I'm going to school one day at a time, or I'm going, I'm trying to be on a diet one day at a time. And if you do kind of like, oh, well, I can't start my diet because, the disease today. Or, I just...
Addiction is not like herpes. It doesn't just like flare up out of nowhere. That's not the way it works.
I mean, it kind of
that's a relapse, dude. Like, what are you talking about?
Yes, that's a relapse, exactly. Your flare up is a fucking relapse. You smoked crack and herpes came back, bro. No, like, Eric, I do personify my disease, my addiction, with myself. And I figured that out a long time ago in earlier recovery that I am my addiction.
Well, yeah.
It's not some separate thing. It's not doing push-ups in the parking lot.
Are you sure? Yeah. Does that one? I hate the.
Oh God, that one irks me.
I fucking hate the weightlifting ones.
Push-ups. Oh God, who was that made that fucking? I can't remember. But
I don't know.
They always had a gym analogy.
Half the guys in NA, like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
Like.
But anyway, it's not my disease is not doing push-ups in the parking lot. It's not some separate thing. It is me. I like when I look in the mirror, that is my addiction. But like I am both things. I am my worst enemy, but I am my ability to recover as well. And like that brings me to like I want to drop this quote from my favorite fucking writer of all time, Walt Whitman, is I'm as bad as the worst, but thank God I'm as good as the best. And that's something I've always held with myself. And like, I have a tattoo about it. I have Jekyll and Hyde. I have those things living in me. I am my disease, but I'm also my recovery. So it's about those choices, spiritual principles or character defects. What am I going to go with? Am I going to go with the anger, or am I going to go with like the patience? Like, it's all down to me and what I choose in my thoughts and behavior and patterns.
Yeah. I think that it's one of those things that like you were basically talking about it, David, like people don't want to own their shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, I don't want to be accountable for my bad behavior. So I'm going to like create a separate entity. And that's why I did the things that I did, and not say I chose to, cheat, or I chose to steal, and I chose to lie. No, they're like, it's easier, it's softer, it's nicer to say, it was like I was just really acting out in my disease today. Like it's a cop-out. Bullshit. Yeah, exactly. It's a cop-out. It's a way to not take accountability for your choices in your life, And I mean, like, I think that people who are not addicts do that too. Like, I was so angry, right? Like, I was so angry. So I just, I did this. And it's like a psychological thing. It's kind of like, I guess maybe we learned it as kids, or it's something that's like in us and we don't even know it, but it's hard to like every day, all day, look at yourself and know that like you have a choice. And like, it's even harder to, if you chose the shittier, one way to go, to then be like, oh, that was wrong of me, right? To admit fault and then to like amend it. That's not something that like a lot of people know how to do, whether they're addicts or not. So I think it's just like we as addicts, like when we, I mean, I know like for me, right? Like when I was using and I was a horrible person and I stole from my dad and I was like, why did you do this? I didn't say like, oh, because I knew you weren't going to call the cops and I just really wanted to get high. I would say, I'm a drug addict. I have a problem, so I didn't have to own that behavior and that choice. Cause like I 1000% knew it was wrong when I did it. And I felt shitty about it while doing it, but I still did it, it's just it's like that kind of thing. Like we disassociate ourselves from our behavior by saying, oh, it was because of the disease of addiction. And I mean, like I see people with years clean do that, but like if you also see how they live their life and the quality of their life, like, that's like that's attraction rather than promotion. So they're like, well, I don't want what you have, so I'm not going to do what you do. But like that's, I think for me personally, I think that's why. And like, I still act out in behaviors like character defects a lot. Like I'm not exempt from anything. I'm not recovered, nor will I probably ever be, because then I'll achieve some level of nirvana that like I don't even think exists, whatever. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that that's like the goal of it, is to be on the journey, like not to get to the destination. Like it's the experience, not the end result. But anyway, so like, I think that it's just a way to like not own your shit, basically, and to put it on something else. I mean, people do it with depression, right? Like, look at half of fucking America. We're on pills for depression. And instead of saying, hey, this is what's going on with me. I'm not, mental illness is a thing. And some people definitely need medication. But like, instead of doing things within yourself, eating healthy, exercising, talking to your friends, like being creative, whatever, like it's easier to just be like, it's my depression, I need a pill. Like, so instead of saying, hey, let me apply some steps, let me address the situation, let me like apologize for it, it's easier just to say, it was the disease of addiction.
Yeah. No, and we as addicts know that instant gratification probably better than just about everybody. And it's very true with like sufferers of depression as well, because like, yes, absolutely. I'm not knocking psych meds in any way, shape or form, but the purpose of them is to open you up to be able to do the work, to let your mind and your emotions heal and get better. So like any really good psychotherapist or doctor will have a plan with you to eventually wean you down, to have you on as little as necessary.
But that depends on the patient, man. That's not a one size fits all sort of model.
Yes, no. Yes. If you're schizophrenic, take your medication forever.
I mean,
if you are schizophrenic, if you have
bipolar type 1, like bipolar type 1, like those people, like bipolar 2, like, I mean,
yes, I'm not making a blanket statement at all.
Well,
like, they're very vastly differing diagnoses
it goes
that
back,
require shit for a lifetime, but not all of them do.
But not
I think the point, though, is that just taking the medication isn't going to help in the long run.
You have to do both.
Just taking the Yes, exactly. So, like, I think that just hiding behind that, oh, I'm an addict. Once an addict, always an addict or whatever. Like, oh, I'm always going to have these behaviors within me. It's the same kind of concept. It's wanting the instant reward without doing any effort, or just wanting to not own it because you don't want to do anything to change it.
Yeah, and I did that with psych meds myself. Like, I was taking the instant gratification pill, and I was like, fuck going to see a therapist. They don't know what I'm going through, blah, blah, blah. I'll just take these pills and I'll be better. So, like, I know the effects of just taking the pills without doing the legwork.
Yeah, and eventually it's going to catch up with you.
It's on its face. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like if you continue to hide behind a disease of addiction or your addict behavior, it's eventually going to catch up with you. You're going to find yourself alone and, whatever, like, because nobody's going to want to be around that shit. I mean, I wouldn't want to be, but
yes.
Or, you're going to have consequences.
Yes. For everybody listening, I'm not a doctor. Number one, I'm not giving you advice. I am not giving you advice.
Take your meds.
Yes. Take your meds, whatever you're doing, please keep doing it. I am, as prescribed, I'm giving you my opinion and my experience. That is all. I'm not giving any advice to anybody.
And to be fair, I am on psych meds. So to be fair, there is someone on here who is on psych meds. So we have everyone represented.
I've been on them before.
Yeah. No, I was off them.
I've taken them before.
Have experience.
I was off them for 5 years.
That's all we're sharing.
They're needed. Yeah, dude, like, they're totally needed. I just try to also make active change.
Oh, yeah.
And then, see how that works. Yeah.
There's, like, different ways to go about it, right? Like, and that's the hard thing, especially with, like, I mean, addiction and mental illness. I think they're the same thing, but it's it's hard to come to realizations with both. And I mean, sometimes you need more help, and just like, remember that it's not a bad thing to get extra help, right? Like,
absolutely.
It's just something you gotta do sometimes.
It's not, there's no shame. Yeah, no shame. But I mean, like, the same could even go for, like, why people don't leave shitty relationships, like, because they're like, oh, this is just what I have. This is just what it is. It's almost like you accept this level, it's like, it's just an addict in me. So it's like you automatically sell yourself short and do not rise to your full potential because you've accepted that that's just who you are.
I mean, like, so what? Like, I got off psych meds when, goddamn, like 5 years ago. And I didn't realize, and my doctor, I didn't get back on them because of depression, but I didn't realize that I was living, like, this melancholy existence where I was just like, and I think David called me out on it all the time too, because I was just like, I'm just, whatever. It's, life is just, it's okay to just be like a flat line.
I tried to do it in a very nice way.
You thought it was the most depressing thing you ever heard in your life. I think you said that. You were like,
I'm sure David was not nice about it.
Yeah, right?
Oh, that is.
And, but seriously, it was a blessing.
I feel attacked.
It was a blessing, though, to be honest. It was like a blessing that I had to take this again for my stomach, like, issues. And it turned out that, like, oh shit, I forgot. I'm bipolar type 2. Like, I didn't forget, but I'm like, oh, I'm happy again. I forgot I could be happy. Cool. This is cool. Like, it's, and like, I was talking to my doctor about it, and she was like, yeah, I mean, that's, when you are, that's who it usually works the best for. It's like when people, you've already done all the therapy shit. Like, the therapy stuff, but you couldn't get over the hump, like, on your own. That's why medication exists. Because, I mean, I tried, right?
I'm gonna say my subversive snarkiness helped 0.01%.
Not really. I mean, it was the stomach thing, man. It wasn't like, but I'll give you some credit, David.
They were coupled together, and that's what it was.
I'll give you a little bit.
I said 0.01. That was it.
Yeah, I'll give you.
I wasn't giving myself a lot.
I'll give you 0.01. That's fine.
All right, that's fair. I'll take it.
Cool.
I'll take anything I can get.
Awesome.
But real quick, Allie, when you were saying like when you were like stealing from your parents, and you're like, oh, I'm an addict and everything. Like, I wouldn't even own that shit. I would just self-deprecate to the point I'm just like, I'm a piece of shit human being. Okay, is that what you want to hear? Like, that's what I would do. Yeah. I wouldn't even admit that like I had like some semblance of a problem. I'd just be like, I am a defective piece of shit. Okay. That's where I went.
I think like at some rational level in my brain, like my logical side, I knew I was like, clearly this is the drug, right? Like clearly this is not who my fucking parents raised me to be. I did not go to Catholic school to learn this behavior. I was not like this when I did not use drugs. So like, and then I kind of, I don't know, like it's kind of sick to say, but I like hid behind the fact that I was like a drug addict. Like I like loved being a fucking victim, right? Oh my God, I get to be a victim. So I like took that victim and I ran with it, and I hid behind my drug addiction for years, and like my inability or willingness to do anything about it or to change. Like it was just my like go-to, my soft cushion, if you will.
And I'm glad you said the V word, because we actually talked about that on our last podcast with Carly, our speaker. We talked from going from a victim to becoming a volunteer. And I think that's what we all did at some point.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like, yeah, the first time, right? The first time you were a victim. The first time my ex-boyfriend beat the shit out of me, I was a victim. But the moment I went back to him, I was 1,000% a volunteer. You know, and in some sick way, like, I think I liked being, like, I liked playing the role of a victim. Like, you know, it takes away accountability. It takes away responsibility. Like, it just takes everything away. Like, it can just exist.
It's cool. You had Stockholm syndrome. It's fine. You're not responsible for it.
No, honestly, I knew it. And in some sick way, like, now that I see my behavior and the way that I am, like, I was not probably ever a victim. Like, I mean, yeah, he shouldn't have probably beat the shit out of me, but I also did not need to get in his face and keep going back and instigating. So, like, I played just as much of a role in the first incident as I did in the last incident. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like step work and like watching my behavior without drugs, because I thought, oh, like it was just because I was high or because I was mad. But like, I can be like that today, totally, completely clean. And still, you know, instigate some shit and push people to a limit. I want to see Allie's hood side so bad, just one day.
Dude, I just want to see the hood rat come out full display, just so I can just watch and be like, oh.
It comes out.
Also, if you want to drop a name, I'll fuck a motherfucker up for you. Just saying.
Okay, well, like no, may they rest in peace. You know what I mean? Not any of my doing, but yeah, they're deceased, so whatever. And I came to terms with it, honestly, like...
You are Corsican, though, so, you know, I don't put it past.
Dude, yeah.
Where were you, Allie? Where were you that night?
Wow. I feel attacked, and rightfully so. Let me put on my victim hat really quick. No, I was... Dude, he OD'd, man, and it was fucked up, and he didn't have to die that way, and it breaks my heart. Like, it breaks my heart when anybody that I was close with overdoses and dies from the disease of addiction, because I know there's a better way. And there's always that part of me that's like survivor's guilt. I don't know if that is like a thing in recovery, but like for me, like I feel like it's like, God, why did I get it? Why did I, you know, get clean and not die and like all this shit? And then I just remind myself, like, that's what's waiting for me if I go back out, you know, like. If I leave the never, whatever club, no matter what club there.
The never club.
That's what's waiting for. No matter what.
The never, no matter what club.
Yeah, that's what's waiting for me. But, yeah.
One day at a time.
So, yeah, right. No matter what, one day at a time.
I think that has brought us full circle
Yeah.
in our topics.
I think we're at the end.
Anybody
guys.
have any final thoughts? Final thoughts? Anybody?
No.
No?
No.
Nothing? I feel good. I feel good.
Yeah,
I feel like I
felt
released
better.
a lot. I talked about my freak out in the bank drive-thru today, and it was good. It was cathartic. So let me be the first one to say, thanks for sharing, you guys.
Thank you for sharing.
Keep coming back.
Don't say it, Eric.
Keep coming back, David.
I'm not. You're such a dick. Hold on. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna skip the outro. Everybody, that's our podcast. Thank you for listening to another episode of Thanks for Sharing with your hosts, David O.
Are you expecting me to say
Eric
something
B.
right now?
Allie B.
Yeah.
I was trying to cue you guys, but I realized I was not in the room, and it's fine. Everybody, thanks for joining us. Make sure you check us out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, our YouTube channel for more information about Carly, Allie, Eric, and myself. Go to podcastrecovery.com. But most importantly, stay safe and stay clean.